I knew that I was a guide for this. I knew that I was here and I was absolutely the odd person out.
Yeah.
And I got used to being the odd person out. And I got used to all of that. So walking in these shoes for this many years, it's been definitely lonely. But as I meet more and more people, especially as I meet people like you, they're thriving because, yeah, I survived that for a long time. And
hello, everyone, and welcome to Thrive with Sharon, the podcast. And as always, I am so excited about this new podcast and the fact that I am able to connect with such incredible human beings all over the world. And today is no exception. And actually, there's been such a buildup to this conversation because Phoenix Rising and I have really connected and have been connected for at least a year and a half, if not maybe more. I can't remember exactly when, but for the past year, we've been really making the intention to try and get together and have a conversation. And today is the day. Today is the day. So I am so excited to bring this absolutely beautiful being to you all and to have this conversation. I know that we have really not a lot of planning and preparation for the conversation, other than the fact that we know that there are so many different things that we are here to speak about. And so Phoenix Rising is the founder of Shamanic Beauty, and she is a shamanic practitioner, and she's also a spiritualist and a spiritual teacher. So what I read in all of that is that she's here to be a guide, a way shower, and someone who has gone through her life and allowed herself to go through the experience of unlearning and really getting to understand the true essence of our existence and our beingness. So Phoenix, I am so excited to have you here. I want to welcome you and get right into our conversation that has all to do with what you are here for right now and what you really have seen yourself evolving into as time has passed. So welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm like ready for the fanfare.
Yeah, I hope you feel the love. I do.
It's so true. We have been trying to connect and do something for quite a long time. I know, first of all, thank you so much for having me on your platform. And I love the name of your platform. Before we came on, we were, discussing the name, and Thrive to me sounds so perfect because that is exactly why we're here, to thrive. And so it encompasses everything and all things. So thank you for having me in your thriving family, in your camp, and bringing me here. It's so good. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. We, I think the first time I saw you on social, there was just a clicking. There's things that you said that were just so clear, because there is a lot, and it's a tribute to Thrive and where you are, because I could see that you were thriving. And you didn't really even have to say that much on your posts, just your presence of who you are. There is the essence of thrive behind it, of being authentically living and going beyond what is just, here, just what we see. And coming to that place is not that easy for many of us in our lives, because, we get stuck out there with all the experiences and the traumas, the pains and the disappointments. And, you've been told to do a certain thing in your life. And of course, you were told by your parents. So it might sound kind of important, for survival. And so you go down a path that's not yours. And then what happens is you don't thrive. You're dead in the water. You don't even know you're not thriving. You think you are. You think you're going on and doing all these great things and going to school and studying because your father did that and he's bringing you into his business. And of course, you're honored to go into it because it's the lineage and it's the family and it's part of your DNA and it's part of, who brought you here, on the ship. But your great, 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 great man, we have to do it too.
Yeah. Yes.
And many times, but your soul is trying to reach out beyond those bounds. And that becomes the issue for much of us. And we get stuck, pieces get stuck. Parts of our heart, which is our soul, get stuck in, gosh, I really wanted to do this though. I wanted to be an entertainer. I didn't want to go to work in the law firm with the thing. And so you're not thriving. So I love the premise all around. And then when I saw you, I saw that you were authentically thriving. So thank you for being the mirror for me on that. Because in my life, there's been the big journeys on how do you thrive? How do I get to where it's me and not what they said?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And so the thing that I think is so fascinating with all of this is that while these are all very personal experiences that we've had, my experience was very much, mine and yours was yours, yet it's like others, right? Like so many others. And what I'm hearing and what you're saying is like there is this common thread, which is this knowing, this inner knowing, right? Of there is something bigger and greater than what we've been taught or what we've been shown. It's like, we take this Nubian person, thing, being, whatever, and we're like, this is what life is. And we show them pictures of, I don't know, tall buildings in Manhattan and, whatever it might be. And then this is it. It's these three things, right? And yet the person whose eyes saw those things have this internal knowing, like, I know that there's more because I've had a vision of that. I've felt it. I've dreamt of it or whatever it might be, or I just have this feeling in my gut. And so that's what takes us to being able to thrive. And so, like we were talking about before, I wanted to loop this into what we were sharing, which I think is going to be very important for all of us, which is just like you, meaning you and everyone else who's listening. We have come to an impasse at many different parts of our lives where we have realized that the things that we were taught were more a perpetuation of things that were keeping us away from our aligned destiny, right? And when that happens, then we're not thriving. It means we're surviving, because when we're surviving, we're being kept we're being kept and contained in something that we have to survive through instead of, really be in our full expression. So for me, like thriving, and I know it's used so much now, the term is used so much now, but for me, thriving is really just being able to be free, to be free of that activation, be free of all of the ways that our physical body reacts and all of that. And, and also that we can be in our fullest expression. And you, my beautiful sister, are the glowing example of that.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much. We love adorning one another. We have a thing. We have a thing. Me and she. We have a thing. We have a thing. We do. Because when you're thriving, one of the most wonderful things is when you see other people thriving. It's just like it reminds you of like, yes, I'm on the right path. It reminds me. Sometimes at those theme parks when you went through the roller coaster, which. That's not me. You're not seeing me on that thing. But the people who got off the roller coaster and you get the T-shirt, like, I survived, death heaven or whatever, whatever the name of the roller coaster.
Yes.
But it never said I thrived because you know what? Because the implication of that one, just like you're saying, the word And as we're trying to step it, we're becoming those shoes and thriving and wanting to always thrive and not survive. Is surviving gives you the notion that you've escaped death, that you're like, and you're like, you've outsmarted something but you're making your way along, but thriving is where you're in your fullness and you're able to see beyond. And so, I don't think you could ever overuse this thrive, because I don't feel it overused. So I think it's so good. Something that you said before, I wanted to come back to the little inklings of the memories that are outside the box. To me, in my work as a past life regressionist and doing the shamanic work, taking people on the shamanic journeys without plant medicines, but actually just through I'm going to call it the first eye. I like to call it the first eye because it's the first eye to develop, even though we'll call it the third eye for usage. But these are 2 and 3. This is actually 1, the one that sits in the middle of the brain. And the releasing of that hormone and the DMT that allows you to look outside the box, and also you can come to it through plant medicine, absolutely. But that thing is what we have shrouded or covered ourselves with, of course, coming into this life. Because if we came into the life and knew everything that was outside the box, then we'd be, I got it. It's not a problem. Like we wouldn't go through the hard things. We wouldn't take things as so heartbreaking and heart-wrenching, and these climbing up these mountains to get to the other side. And we go through these extreme abandonment issues. We actually need to not see outside the box, if you will, for quite a while until we're ready to see outside the box. And I think it's the process of getting ready to see outside the box, which is all the work that we do. Because if you knew the answers too soon to things, it would change all of the steps that it took to get to be strong enough to see what's outside the box. Because a lot of times what's outside is a lot. It's a lot to see. It's a lot to know, to come into the truth of who we actually are and because it's so magical. It's so big. There's no words for who we are and how we are actually, how we've gotten here from another dimension that can't even be explained in how we are. However, once you release that, it's the gateway. It's the special lock, that the unlocking into the gateway to have the answers to everything. And, it's a beautiful thing. It's part of our human journey to get to that level so that we are able to do it and have it feed our lives instead of, ruining the outcome, if you will. Because I do believe that many times when we give ourselves up to the seers, the card readers, the astrologist, although all of it incredible, know that it's still coming through their vessel, which is the vessel of all of their experiences, but it's not ours, it's not yours, So when you gain the ability to see, your soul knows that you're ready to see it. And many times when we go to places to go, give me the answers, I got to know what it is, what am I going through, just read it, throw it out, what is it? Many times you're not ready to see what that is. As well, it's coming from somebody else and not you.
Right. Oh my gosh.
So I think the most important work that we do, and for me in the shamanic beauty, leading us back to what is shamanic beauty, it's being your own guru, your own doctor, your own visionary of your own soul. You have to do it. That's the big work. You have to do it. Nobody else can do it for you. Not to say we can't go out and have, help from others who have walked in the same shoes, if you can do that before, because no one can walk in your shoes, no matter how that phrase is a misnomer, to walk in somebody's else's shoes. You can't possibly do it because you're still that somebody else walking in somebody else's shoes.
Yes.
You know, it's empathy and sympathy, you know, the sympathy you feel for somebody. The empathy is you try to become that. And you can only do that so much. Which then again weaves back around to giving yourself up to the knowledge that somebody else is telling you about you and your life and, you know, telling the future, so to speak, because they really can't. So it's good. It's wise to be able to use those just, you know, where they need to be, but always you doing the workout. Nobody can work out for us. You know, you can't. Could you go to the gym for me?
Yeah.
Did you like get on that bench press and we just get that? No, I can't. Like you have to do. I can be with you to help train you and show you the different ways in which you might be able to do that exercise better, but I can't do it for you.
Yeah.
So, you know. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So it's really the true essence of being a shaman, right? Mm-hmm. And I have been blessed with being able to work with shamans in my life. And that has really helped to curate the way that I hold spaces for other individuals, because when you were saying that, of course, I'm relating it to myself, right? And so one of the most beautiful things I know about shamanism is that it is really just about like creating and allowing someone to greet themselves in all aspects of who they are, how they are, as they are. And that the shaman is not even there to take away the pain of that experience as well, which if we look at a lot of other practitioners that you might have mentioned before, all these different types, we can have this tendency to, because of our own programming and because of where we are in our own unlearning, right, and unbecoming, that we have a tendency to not want other people to feel pain because we don't want to feel pain, right? And
especially as women, right?
Yes,
especially as women,
women, or someone who identifies as femme or of the feminine or a greater aspect of the feminine energy, right? And so, for me, one of the gifts that I knew of that I experienced and have always been experiencing throughout my entire life was the psychic gifts, right? Of being able to see, to feel, to taste, to have that inner vision and the external vision as well of some of the infinite in the quantum, right? And so that's a whole story as far as like the trauma that I experienced because of that. And having that be who I was from a very young age. However, now owning it and just having that be part of who I am, and how I help people, I'm very clear about it. Me not telling anyone anything that they feel like they need to know. So am I going to be with this person ultimately? Because I just have to know this, right? Or, what is the outcome going to be basically? And so what you're speaking of is like that bypassing, which we know especially, you know, this greater than I do, but like through my experience, and I've experienced this myself, and I'm sure like many others, they have gone through this experience as well and can appreciate the difference of walking through those aspects and learning and growing so much and knowing their soul so much more than if they were to be feeling these pains and then on a Saturday afternoon go to a psychic and have the psychic lay out all the cards for them and tell them what their next month, year, 5 years, how many kids they're going to have, so on and so forth. Because then it can potentially take away the actual experience.
Yeah, I think the potential word, I think it might be, how about it absolutely takes that away. Absolutely takes away. I love what you said. Yeah, thank you for that. If you look at it also, I have the very scientific masculine side of me, which I love, as well as the feminine. I'm a Libra, so I have I'm pulled from both all the time. And my masculine side says scientifically, things change on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. So even if somebody tells you that next week this is going to happen, you have a whole entire week to change the outcome of what that's going to be. Mm-hmm. Like and I think many times if someone says, oh, this is going to happen, they go, oh my God, that's exactly what they said. That's exactly how it happened.
Yeah.
I wonder, did that mean, once again, like you just said, does it take away the experience? Because what you did is you just set yourself up in a certain vibrational frequency for someone to come in to tell you how it was going to happen. So you went along in that frequency and didn't allow yourself to go, wait a minute, I might be able to change the outcome of that if I grow along the way. And that means not giving my power up to others that are going to tell me what my next week, month, or 5-year trajectory is going to be. Because I think you set yourself up in a frequency for that. So those may come to be true, mm-hmm. but were they supposed to? Do you know what I mean? Because your mindset becomes very different as opposed to, you know what? Let me just get in there. Let me see what it's going to be. Let me get that trainer who can help me lift the weight, but can't do. They can't tell you what the outcome of that's going to is my chest going to look good by the time I get done that? I'm working on bench press. You could see.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Which is so funny because I'm thinking to myself, I know we've had this conversation before, but I know that I definitely need to work better at my chest and my upper arms. I know this about myself.
We have to. It's everything. It's everything. I've been on like the regimen of like, getting the arms tight. It's like, I'm kind of an old in my past lives. I've been a man many times in warrior lives. And if my biceps, if I don't have that little separation here and I look in the mirror, girl, I'm not happy.
I was just going to finish your sentence for you.
I'm like, what is that? I'm like, it's just flat. Like, what? It's like I had this, I was, the warrior walking around with, the hair and I loved it. I loved my man days. I had fun. I did good things.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure
many women.
I hope that you had the full experience. Yeah, exactly.
I had the full one. But it's funny though, because in the gym, it was probably about 3 years ago. I was there in the, on my shaman side, looking at the lay of the land and watching everybody in their earphones and talking and, in with the big weights, and they're kind of walking from side to side and they're looking in the mirror and they're doing these things. And suddenly I was thrown back to a training camp in some very far long ago lifetime when all the same players were just out there training because they were getting ready to go into battle. Mm-hmm. And, they've got the I saw them as with the big barbells and they're picking them up and doing stuff. I'm like, oh, these are all of those people who just we were out there training and for battles, to protect the villages and do whatever. I'm like, I know you guys. That's why we're always like, we get in the gym. We're like, oh yeah, here we are again.
Yep. Yeah, I know.
Here we are again.
And you greet yourself, right? And it's so incredible. So I want to ask you, I have a couple of questions actually that just came from this conversation so far, which is, first of all, I think it would be really interesting to know your journey towards shamanism and just really when were you called and when did you answer the call? And were they at the same time?
Wow. You have hard questions for me today. You're just going to throw me like the big one, the big bone. Okay. It's okay. I'm good. I got it. I got you.
I know you got it.
I got you. Well, I just, for the first time, a recent time, I'm doing a show called Interview with Ed, ED, Extra Dimensional. It's a show that's been on Gaia for a couple of years. Very fascinating show about channeling extra dimensionals. And I channel through the Lyran Council. The Lyrans, if you don't know anybody who's watching, they're the great beings, the lion-headed in the man body. They are one of the first and oldest civilizations, one of the most benevolent, who helped to seed mankind.
Yeah.
And I had an incredible visitation about 3 years ago, in real time, not one of those, oh, I went in a dream sort of situation. It was like a real time situation. Yes, I was on my way to sleep, and then I was not sleeping and was transported to meet the council and to get instruction. That was about 3 years ago. And in the telling of the story for ED, interview with ED, of course, they asked me the question, where did you come from? And my awakening into this whole entire world came at a very young age. And I can say, actually, even before I was 8 years old. But what happened when I was 8 years old opened me to the realization that there was a world outside it all, that box that you talk about, this thing. But it just blew it open. And in my experience, I was adopted. My brother and I were in a family, went through a lot of trauma around bullying. We were mixed race kids, brought up in a white family, in a white neighborhood that was very country and very prejudiced. And so we had the whole name calling. We were also Jewish. I was actually Jewish from my birth mom and was to be brought up in a Jewish home. So my father, who adopted, was Jewish. My mother was Catholic. And so we also were at this school. So besides for being mixed race and having all that bullying, we also killed the Jews. We killed Jesus. Sorry, we killed Jesus, the Jews. It was a big thing. You killed Jesus. And so we came with that. And the reason I'm telling you that is because this next experience that comes is what blew me open. My brother and I were crossing the street to get the school bus, and he ran out and he was hit by a car and he was killed instantly. That next night, he came back because he didn't know that he had passed. He didn't know that he was gone. And this even happens with grown-ups, and when you work in past life realms, and even when you don't, you see this, that when people die very quickly, and especially children, they're confused. They don't know what happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when he came back to me, up the stairs, into my bed, sheets raising, all that kind of very real experience.
Yeah.
Yeshua was sitting at the head of my bed. Now you have to understand, I'm trying to understand why Yeshua would come, because in my knowing in the box, we killed Jesus. So why would he come? Like, it's not, I'm going praying, Jesus loves me. Yes, I know songs when I'm little. This is not what we were taught at all. And I was in shock because my brother had passed. He was my guy. We were in this thing together. And here he was trying to figure out why he had left, why he wasn't there. And then there's Yeshua. And the event must have gone on for hours, but we kind of floated to this place where Yeshua was showing that he was going to bring safe passage to my brother. And there was like an anointing that happened. Like, know that we're here. Know that there's something outside that box.
Yeah.
As we speak about today, at that point, I didn't have that verbiage or even that thought, but I knew that there was a protection that was otherworldly, that as I went through this life, and my brother, as he left, he knew it was going to be hard for me. But for whatever reason, he had to leave. And it was just the most beautiful, beautiful experience, very scary, beyond, I'm like sweating, I think, crying and sweating and just trying to move through this. But the beauty of that exposed me to everything, so that when I came out of that the next day, nothing looked the same. My whole perception of reality even it was enough, for losing my brother, that entire reality is shattered. But the healing in it, knowing that I wasn't alone, that there's something outside these realms, was what started me then. I mean, even as a kid, I was the one who was doing the healings. When I talk about working out, and it's funny because my dad, and not funny that my dad, but it's interesting in the mention that the next day my dad had a heart attack because of the stress of my brother's passing. And we almost lost him. But when he got out of the hospital, I opened one of his little Army pictorial books. He was a lieutenant in the Army, retired at that, when he had adopted me. But I had these little Army Air Force books, and there were these exercises, and I was kind of fascinated with them. And he had us doing exercises before. He was an Army guy. So, of course, that would be the thing, cold showers for the kids.
Of course. Yes.
And it wasn't some Kundalini thing. It was like, do you know what I mean? Kundalini exercises. Yes, we're going to get in the shower. We're going to wrap our heads. It's going to be now. It's like, okay, kids, you have how long in the shower? And now the cold water goes on. And you're like, Dad, dude, like, seriously? What house did I get adopted into?
Right.
But, of course, he was correct about those cold showers. They kept the soldiers well, And,
yes.
I didn't know it at that time, but now it's like, this is the thing that you do. But I got up at 5:30 in the mornings before school and got in those exercises with my dad to bring him back into health. And when people had problems, I was the one. I knew the answers to help guide them. And even then, what we just talked about, I knew enough not to tell them.
Yeah.
I knew that I was a guide for this. I knew that I was here, and I was absolutely the odd person out.
Yeah.
And I got used to being the odd person out, and I got used to all of that. So walking in these shoes for this many years, it's been definitely lonely. But as I meet more and more people, especially as I meet people like you, they're thriving because, I survived that for a long time, and other deaths. I had like 4 of a best friend and another best friend and then a fiance, all killed along my life. A lot of death trauma. But as I learn, for whatever reason, I'm pulling that experience. I signed up for it as a soul coming in. Okay, this time I have to experience like the most important people in my life being taken away. So are you surviving that? Yeah, for a long time I did.
Yeah.
But in the understanding of the soul agreements, that's when we thrive, because we go, wow, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do.
I mean, I was choking back some tears as you were sharing your story as well, because it is just so poignant and so powerful. And I mean, probably for most people, one of the most challenging aspects is that concept of life and death, but especially when it comes to our family. And reading between the lines of some of what you've shared, this was your brother.
Yeah.
And you had family, but he was like family, right? Yeah. And so part of the journey that I think, like so many that you walked through, was the one where it was like the level of acceptance of understanding that this is what it is, right?
Exactly.
Oh, this is it. Okay, and really finding peace within that.
Well, as the teacher that you are, the practitioner that you are, the shaman that you are, I will call you the shaman because you are the one who opens the way to see, the way showers. Again, in that shaman is the becoming your own guru, your own teacher, your own disciple, your own doctor of your own soul.
Yeah.
You know that if a problem keeps showing up for any of the clients that we work with, if it keeps showing up, what is it? It's something we have to work for. It's a soul agreement. So if death keeps showing up and abandonment at that higher level. So, okay, here I go. Okay. all right, what are you doing this time, guys? Okay, you're in for the master class course lifetime. I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, let's start with mother abandonment. Yeah, I can. And she goes, okay, honey, I'm going to give you up. We're going to put you in a foster home. We're going to go to another home where actually they're going to brainwash you and tell you that you actually are white the whole time, except when you go to school, you're going to experience another kind of thing, but you're not going to be able to tell us about it because we agreed not to tell you that you were white or that you were anything else. You're just going to be white. You're going to, okay, got it. Okay, we're going to do the white thing, check. We're going to do the brainwash thing, and you're not going to know who you really are until you're in your 20s. Got it. Okay, check. Cool. Death, check. Cool. So I'm thinking, what did I do? What did I do? I must have done some shit to get into this because it's a big one. But when anything keeps showing up at that level, these are all things that we sign up for. And the other players, my brother, is going to go, okay, all right, hon, I'm going to do this thing. I know it's going to be hard. You're not going to remember what it is. You're not going to know. Yeah. But we're going to do this thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to know.
But you bring up something that I think is really important. And because I think that one of the things that's interwoven in some of our healing and spiritual communities is this concept of like, what did I do to deserve this? And right. And so, we can call it victim shaming, we can call it blaming, but it takes us into that cycle. And it's interesting. It's been coming up a lot in a lot of the sessions that I'm doing and just in life, right? In just the walks of life that I am always so excited to be able to, on some level, cross journeys with. And so 3 times this week, just this week, and today's Friday, now you're the 4th, where we've talked about the concept of the lesson, right? And I do really believe that we are all here to learn. We're all here to, because you're speaking about the infinite, right? So that portal, that knowingness, whether it's the third eye, the first eye, whatever we want to call it, that knowingness is really just that tapping into the infinite. And we have to be of the right mindset to be able to understand infinite and what that really means, right? And but so when we're leaning into something like God or the universe or source, then understanding the concept of purity, of love, of truth, and of wisdom, then we can lean into the idea of the lesson, right? Because it's pure, right? It's a light of heart. It's a love, right? But and it doesn't matter where we are, whether we're in the US or we're in a different country, this idea of the lesson, it comes from human to human, right? Where we're basically having to perform to this level of perfection. And if we don't, we're going to be graded and we're going to be told that we did something wrong and we experience pain and so on and so forth. And we're getting graded and then the lesson. And then that keeps us paralyzed, right? Because then we think, well, gosh, I'm responsible for all of everybody else's pain, which goes back to the old original idea and concept of that true nature of what's in the soil of shamanism, which is just every soul has its own journey, right? And own growth. And so this one client I was working with earlier this week, we were talking about the patterning of maybe something that continued to show up, kind of like what you're talking about. And they can be hard and heavy. I mean, life and death and love all intertwined, right? Holy moly. I mean, that's a lot. And it means that your calling is great, right? However, when we have this element of suffering that's also going along with it, it can be really challenging. And so this individual has experienced a tremendous amount of trauma and traumatic experiences in their life. And from a very, very young age, like you, like me, like many of us. And so we were talking about this patterning and they were like, oh my gosh, I didn't see it. What's the lesson? And they were like, because they were like, let me figure out the lesson so I can get it perfectly, so I can get it right. Because I want something outside of me to let me know that I'm doing okay. And I said, you know what? How about we look at it this way? Maybe after all, it's not a lesson. How would it feel in your body to just think about it being growth? How would that change the next step that you take? Or if you would take a step? And they were like, it would change everything.
And this is why I love you. Because you're just changing verbiage on us. Like, that's why you're the thrive. Because what you just said, that's exactly why. The growth is the thriving. The lesson is like the surviving, you kind of, that word brings a lot about lesson. It's like, okay, what lesson did you learn? What did you survive? And supposed to growth is what's the thrive? So that's perfectly said.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's no perfect, but
well, it's pretty, it doesn't get too much better. It's just growth and thriving, because that's what we have to do. And it's so true that whatever is showing up over and over, that is our growth point. It is our growth point. And it is what we signed up to have our souls grow with, because whatever part that you weren't able to integrate, that soul part either in this lifetime or in a past lifetime, many times they come from the past. Yes. And they follow us into, that's the growth point.
Yeah.
That's what we need to grow. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that we're in agreement that our souls are here to grow, right? They're here to grow, to flourish, to be in their full expression. And that's probably why when we were like, I see you over there and I see you over there, I think that that's one of the things that we really acknowledged, is that there was this flourishing that was occurring, right? Very different, looks very different, right? But at the same time, at the core, it really is just growth. And
they look really similar to me. I was like, there she is. Get over here. We're supposed to be out in the playground. Like, aren't we going on the seesaw or something?
I know. We definitely, yes. Like, oh my gosh.
Get over. Come over. Get over here.
Yes. It's true. It's true.
I was like, and of course, this is where, and again, our work comes in, and where all our experiences. So that, yes, we're studying, you're studying. I know you're very well studied in your things. I am well studied in mystery schools and shamanism and healing and hypnotherapy, past life regression, et cetera, blah, blah. But the real experiences you go through, because you can't get that from a textbook. That's only, like, they're like addendums that help us to grow with the knowledge that we know. So when you're coming with the seeded wisdom, because you've been through experiences, and you can then, lock them together with the education part and the experience part. So you come into one, that's when you can walk in the true teacher shaman shoes. And I have had many, iterations of times that I wasn't able to heal beyond the trauma, like, where it broke through the body, where the emotional, I had a brain hemorrhage in 2004, which led me into a very interesting path. But it was growing up with the stress, the ulcers, the bleeding ulcers, the migraine headaches, constantly, because of this abandonment that I didn't, remember, of course, that I signed up for this path. And you're not supposed to, because it's like, how are you going to thrive it, and get to the next step? And so a brain hemorrhage that just busted through, and I'm here, and I thrived it. I like that, because I also don't love to put myself in the category, like people say, I survived breast cancer. There's t-shirts, I survived this. Anytime I've seen that, I haven't liked that, because it's like, it really gives you the notion that you're hobbling along instead of, I'm here. I overcame that.
Yeah.
I just saw a orb fly by. I don't know if you saw that. It was really cool. It was like this orb that just went there. It was very cool. But that led me on such a journey of healing those wounds that I didn't realize I hadn't healed. because I'm just, you're just moving on to the next thing, the next thing, the next thing.
Yeah.
And, but it was incredible because it led me into a world of understanding crystals at a higher level. And I was able to heal with a crystal skull. It was actually on the History Channel. It was very cool.
I saw that.
Did you see that?
That was incredible. So anybody who's watching, where can they find that? Because I know that they have to watch that.
But, I actually haven't watched that whole thing yet. I want to actually do a little edit on it and put it on. It happened like right before COVID, they filmed it. And then it kind of got lost in the thing. And then it started coming out. It's on William Shatner's Unexplained show.
Okay.
But that was literally, a leftover on how all of those incidences, the abandonments, like all the trauma broke through,
mm-hmm.
And then led me on a whole other healing journey with Mercury and EMF frequency and understanding how that compromises the blood-brain barrier. And when it's mixed with stress, that's unresolved trauma, and you have toxins like old mercury fillings in your teeth, how that can actually break through, your body. And and then with the crystals. So even though, that's the part where you don't just survive it, but where you thrive, where you grab all these incredible pieces of wisdoms and teachings and carry on. And that's when the universe goes, she's got it. Now, what's the gift? She's got it. There you go. She's got it. She's got to keep moving on,
Yes. Because like you said, it's not about the brokenness. It's not about surviving something. It's about transmutation.
Perfect.
Right. And so, first of all, there's so many things. I want to share something about 2004 that we have in common. Ooh. But I want to speak into this one aspect, which I think you highlighted really well, which is this created focus for you in an area that you really weren't 100% clear on at that point in your life. But the wisdom that needed to come through from your cells, from every atom of your being, was given the breakaway point to be able to do that. Mm. And when it did, while it was definitely not easy, and it was definitely something that I don't think anybody would want to have to go through, nor would I want you to ever have to go through that again. However, being on the other side, you are a bigger and greater expression of your true health.
Yeah.
Right? Because 100. Your health on the physical level, on the spiritual level, on the energetic level, on the emotional level, and the mind, because everything is mental. Everything is mental, right? So it's not a coincidence that was in your brain, right?
You are correct.
So, but the interesting thing is that in 2004, I had a stroke.
Girl.
Swear to goodness.
Wow.
Swear to goodness. See? From exactly the same culmination of all of these other things, abandonment and abuse and, from sexual trauma to psychological trauma to, all of these different aspects, right?
Wow.
And every time I showed up in front of a doctor, they were not informed. Right. And so they, like you said, put you in a box, and because then that helps them to feel like they're helping you.
Right. Exactly.
Or not, which is basically like, well, I don't know. There's, it's your fault that you have X, Y, Z or whatever it is. It's like, well, I don't know about that. Like, I'm willing to do anything. Right. Mm-hmm. And so show me a person who's gone through trauma and I'll show you somebody who can do anything.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Right. So, so it's really, really deeply rooted how sometimes we're really made to feel shame over our experiences, which is something that I'm really passionate about changing the dialogue on. But all of that to say that, like, amazing. It's like we have there's just such synergy in our experiences. And I really, truly, the more that I talk with people, the more that I see these similarities. So, which makes me trust God and the universe and source and Mother Earth that much more to know that it's growing and shifting and changing is help us to be able to grow and shift and change. And the more we resist it, then the more we potentially we're not really in true alignment, right?
Yeah.
And then we're not thriving, going back to the beginning, full circle back to the beginning of our conversation. So,
we'll have to have a brain thrive party, even.
Yes.
In 2004. No, congratulations for moving into all of what you've moved into with that. And like you said, the brain is everything. And I like to consider myself a high intellect in the fact that I love learning and higher learning, and I'm always researching. I mean, so the brain to me, it's everything. The directed thought as to why we're even here on planet is a single directed thought that we needed to get here. It doesn't get more mentally empowered than that. It's a miracle, and it's a miracle we're here because of thought. Because of thought. So to feel that that might be under any kind of diminishment because of a stroke or an aneurysm that's scary stuff, because everything operates right there.
Right.
I think one of the things that I love to do in my practice is the Shaktipa, which is that actually the touching when people are right here, that actually, and it blasts open. Like I had a blast open the pineal gland, and that's actually a real thing. I was years ago. I'm trying to think of what date it was. Long ago. It was after the. Maybe 2006. Yogi Raj. I went to an event. He is trained in the schools of Babaji, Sri Yukteswar, Yogananda, like these greats. And he was here from India, and he was holding some kind of a conference that I went to. I didn't know much about him, but in the end of his conference, he's such an amazing yogi guru type. We went up and he touched us right here, of course, with our permission. And some people had blasts like, whoa. And I didn't really feel anything necessarily. But it wasn't until years later, because again, it's like I wasn't ready actually for that. Mm-hmm. I see, because it was, like, man, I see people out there that just really having this experience, and I trusted it, but I really didn't feel anything until I did. And then I did.
Until I did.
I did. And so one of the big things, but he activated in many activations that I do, there was something activated in me, again, with the anointing that comes along with all the different experiences. It's like this big, incredible thing that you're cooking up. You got here and here, you got this from this year, and all of the things gave me the ability to do the same. And when we work on past life, pineal gland activation opening, and I have people, we go through a whole exercise on how to find that yourself.
Yeah.
And then this, every time, is pretty fun. And then people get to see on their own what it is, through an assist, if you will. So it's an assist, a gym assist. So I'm not telling them what it is, but I'm assisting them to see what it is. Mm-hmm. And it's very powerful, very, very powerful, very fun, very fun.
So incredible. And your work is so powerful, Phoenix. Your work is really, truly powerful and so needed, and more needed now than ever. So, gosh, I'm just so grateful for you and all that you do. And, we're definitely, I want to ask you one last question, which is, what is it that you think that is most important for all of us who are relating to what we're sharing right now and kind of are going through some tremendous growth?
Yeah.
What would you want to offer? What would you want to offer, either that you wish that you had known, or maybe that, that you think is just really is channeled, that is meant to be said right now?
Yeah, I think that it's overcoming the fear of death.
Yeah.
That's the bottom line. It really brings everything back to baseline. If we overcome the fear of death, we are thriving in every way because you really understand the infinite, the eternal, the immortal essence of the soul. And then you're not afraid to express anything. You're not afraid to look outside the box. And then, of course, everything outside comes to you when you're not afraid.
Yeah.
It shows up, and it shows up miraculously. It's when you have those synchronicities that you go, wow, there's no coincidences. That person showed up on this path at this time, and I needed this. And that's because you let go. And when they let go and you don't have the feeling of a fear, and mostly we're fearing death, like in this whole situation that's going on right now on the planet. Everyone's afraid. You're afraid. So what if you got it? Most of you are going to get better. It's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Some are going to go into the next iteration of who they are out of body.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you drop the fear, and I think that's why, a lot of times people don't understand the fear. Well, but it's happening, and yes, yeah. But it's the fear that if you move beyond the fear of death, everything's trumped. You're like, I'm not afraid of anything. I'm not my next Instagram post is going to be that wonderful already, Joan of Arc or Jeanne d'Arc. I'm not afraid. I was born for this.
I love your Instagram posts, by the way. They always just speak right into me. It's just like, they always land exactly where I need them to. And I'm so grateful for your capacity to be able to find all of these different ways to be able to help people feel like they're home.
Thank you. And you too, as well, home, feeling home. That's our biggest thing. So if we overcome the fear of death, then you're always home.
Yeah.
And you're never abandoned, because that really is the bottom line, of course, is the dying is like it's ultimate abandonment.
Yeah.
It's the ultimate in abandonment.
It's so interesting now that you're mentioning this. I see it. I see that message loud and clear from you. And this conversation has been so incredible. One of the things that I'm so grateful that I didn't really understand, I didn't know part of what you've had to move through in order to be this beautiful, full expression of yourself now. And I'm so grateful that you chose every single step that you did. But the aspect of not fearing death, I think, is so powerful. And I think that it's definitely something that is important for us to put a bookmark in, for sure, and allow other people to really put that bookmark in, and always be mindful as they're moving through their lives, that anytime that they see that something is coming up, that they can at least give themselves that moment to greet themselves in that, and be okay with the fact that that might be what they're doing, or it might be what they're experiencing, but that may not necessarily be how or what they need to believe in that moment. And they can change that, and they can shift that. And what a world it will be if we do that.
We're doing it. You know what is going to happen. I'm rooting for humanity, that we're going to make it happen this time. We have to make it happen this time. We're slated on the books as a collective.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes. Yes. I know. And actually, I want to honor your time. We've been having this, time has flown by. I always say that, but it really does. It flies by, because I just have such incredible people who I get to share space with, and you are no exception. And this has been such a wonderful conversation. So I'd love to have you back again. And I'd love to talk about, what it is that what we're slated for, because that's a whole other conversation that I want to really give some space to, because I think that once people start to understand and really start to expand their awareness, then that's going to be the next step of what they really want to come into.
Oh, I love that. I would love to come back, because we are slated for, and there's such a big conversation about that. Yeah. And wow, I have so many things. And thank you so much again for having me on Thrive.
Gosh, it's been such a pleasure. And so I just want to make sure you have coming up on Gaia, the show ED.
So Interview with ED, I'm not sure if it has been on Gaia for the past couple of seasons. I'm not sure if it's going to be on Gaia or another platform, but you can find it on Gaia now. I just, we did the show and they're going to release it soon. And so we'll see what platform, but I'll let you know where it's going to be. Absolutely.
Yes. Yeah. And I would say that the best way to be able to find Phoenix Rising is on Instagram, the official Phoenix Rising. And honestly, yes. 100%.
100%. Oh my gosh. I'm so excited for when we meet in person because we're going to do it. We're going to have like a thing.
We are going to have a thing.
We're going to have a thing.
Guess what? I'm coming to Los Angeles in September.
When in September?
Well, I know I have an event on the 18th, but I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to be toggling the other days that I'm going to be there. So,
okay. Well, we have to, maybe we can do something in person kind of event or something.
Oh,
that's what I'm thinking.
We're definitely going to talk about that.
Let's do it. I mean, I got to work. I have to work with you. We're supposed to do something. We're supposed to do stuff together.
We definitely are. are. So,
all right. Oh, thank you.
I absolutely adore you. I love you. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me and have this conversation. It's been just absolutely beautiful. And I am not surprised. Your story is moving and touching, and I think so relatable to so many people. And we need to hear more of that. We need to hear more about your experience as well. So until the next time.
Yes.
And I want to thank yes, absolutely. It's always see you soon. It's always see you soon. And until the next time, I want to thank everyone for watching today, and to make sure that you continue to tune into this YouTube channel as well as the Thrive with Sharon podcast. And make sure you also jump platforms on over to Instagram and join the official Phoenix Rising for her beautiful posts, and also to watch out for some of the different events that she has coming up. She is constantly rolling out different events and different activities. And masterclasses all of the time to serve. So please make sure you go ahead and check her out. So until the next time, much love. Peace.
Peace, babe.